Hello my dear students, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to learn class 10 English chapter Louis Pasteur-Conquerer of Disease question and answers. And this is part 2 of this question and answer session. Part 1 was earlier uploaded in my channel and I'll be sharing the question and answers part 1 video link and the chapter explanation in the description box for your convenience. Okay, so let's move on. But students, if you are visiting my video for the first time, do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get the notifications of my all the upcoming videos. And also share with your friends. If you like it, hit the like button and do watch the video till end. Okay. So students, let's move on to the question answers. We were discussing about second main comprehension questions. Answer the following questions briefly. Under that, first 12 questions were already discussed in my earlier video. So moving on to 13th question. On what study did Pasteur spend all his time and energy for 3 years? So we have to mention in the answer like where was 3 years of energy spent by Pasteur? So answer is for 3 years, Pasteur spent all his time and energy in tracking down the causes of a disease which had ruined the silkworm industry. So yes, students, when we read the chapter, we come to know that Pasteur was very kind-hearted person. He just wanted to solve the problems which were brought in front of him. And when he was staying there in the society, the silkworm industry workers were and the wine industry workers were too much worried about the causes of the disease which were ruining their all the products. So he has spent Pastor has spent all his time and energy, completely his 3 years in tracking down and exactly finding the causes of a disease that had been ruining the silkworm industry. So in these two lines you can write the answer. Moving on to the next question. How is vaccination different from inoculation? So you have to write the differentiation between both. So answer, introducing live organisms into the body to generate immunity is vaccination. It's for viral diseases like smallpox, rubella, chickenpox, measles, and tuberculosis. Whereas the introduction of weak or dead organisms into the body to produce immunity is called inoculation. It's for bacterial diseases like typhoid, diphtheria, and cholera. Okay, so students, here there is no much difference, but vaccination is nothing but introducing live organisms into the body to generate immunity in your body against the viral diseases like smallpox, rubella, and chickenpox, whereas inoculation is immuning or inserting the weak or dead organisms into your body to produce immunity. There, you are giving live organisms into the body. Here, in inoculation, you are introducing weak or dead organisms into a body. Okay, and vaccination is for viral disease, and inoculation is for bacterial disease. So, this difference, if you keep it in your mind, it's more than enough. Moving to next question. What made Pasteur believe that a cow could not have anthrax twice? So when we go across the lesson, we come to know that Pasteur had a belief that a cow could not have anthrax disease twice. So how? What made him think that? So answer is, when Pasteur was trying to discover a cure for a terrible disease called anthrax, he found out that a cow could not have anthrax twice. So he had discovered this while he's experimenting and discovering the cure for the terrible disease called anthrax. During that process, he found out, he studied something, he got to know that anthrax cannot be happened or found in a cow twice. So this is how he believed that. Moving to next question. What made many scientists angry? So this particular answer you'll get it in para 16. So answer is, Pasteur began to wonder whether it would not be possible to make a cow and even a man just little ill with anthrax so that they might not get it again. He thought that this could be done by giving the cows or sheep very weak old germs to make them safe or immune for the future. This idea of giving animals germs made many scientists angry. Okay, Students, so earlier in the question we have seen that Pasteur had come with the uh, discovery like the terrible disease anthrax will not be found in the cow twice. So similarly here he wanted to experiment this. So he was thinking about it would not be possible to make a cow, even a man, just a little ill. Like, is it not possible, he was thinking, if I try a man or a cow to give a little bit of this germs, or if I give a little bit of germs which will make the cow or a man ill with anthrax, so that in future he will not get it again. So this time he wanted to give a week old germs, and it will be safe on the body, but it will be immune for future. In the future, the man or the cow will not get this disease again. So, because of his discovery, he wanted to experiment this. And when he disclosed this to the other scientists, they were very angry with this idea of Pasteur. So, you could write the answer in this manner. Okay. So, moving on to the next question, students. What is rabies? Now, rabies is a kind of disease. So, what is it? Let's see. Answer: rabies is a dangerous disease spread through dog bite and other mammals, caused by a virus that can be transmitted through the saliva to humans, causing madness and convulsions. Okay, so rabies, it is a very dangerous disease. It is spread through dog bite. Usually, when dog bites, we get a disease called rabies, and it's very dangerous. And even other mammals like monkeys and few of the mammals, there animals, if they bite any human, the rabies disease is caused, and it is caused by a virus that is transmitted through the saliva. When they bite, the saliva gets into the human body on or any person, and this causes this disease. And this disease leads to madness and convulsions, a kind of madness and breathlessness. All this happens. So it's a dangerous disease. Okay. Moving on to next question. How was Pasteur a better scientist than Jenner? So, how was Pasteur a better scientist? You have to write that. So, answer is, even though Dr. Jenner had discovered the vaccination against smallpox, he did not really understand about bacteria. But Pasteur had given all his life in the study of bacteria and germs and was able to prove the value of inoculation for different diseases. So when we go through the chapter, we come to know about one more scientist, Dr. Jenner. He had already discovered the vaccination against smallpox, but he did not really understand about the bacteria, about the working of bacteria. But Pasteur, when he gave all his life in the study, in the research of bacteria and germs, and he came through many solutions, that time Pasteur was able to prove the value of inoculation, how they can give old and weak germs and in the body of a cow or a human to be safe from the different diseases. So this is how he was better scientist than Dr. Jenner. Okay. So moving on to next question. How was the very low death rate among the troops during the First World War a great tribute to Pasteur's work? So there's a line, a paragraph in the lesson when you read that Pasteur's work and his experiment on the soldiers who were going to the First World War, they were also inoculated or vaccinated with some of the vaccines before they were going to the war. But this ultimately led to the very low death rate, means it was successful. So how has it proved? That you have to write. So answer is, the very low death rate among the troops during the First World War was a great tribute to Pasteur works, as the troops going abroad were inoculated against diseases like typhoid and enteric fever, and this led to very low death rate from these illness among the troops even in unhealthy places. Okay, students. So this low death rate among the troops during First World War became a great tribute, a great honor, a great add-on to Pasteur's work. Why? Because these troops who went abroad, they were inoculated beforehand when they were going for war, and they were inoculated against the diseases like typhoid and enteric fever. So with this inoculation, they led a very good life, and the low death rate was very low in the troop, even though when they were living in very unhealthy and unhygienic places. Because they were inoculated, it did not affect them. Only very low death rate was found. Few of them who could not survive were were dead, or others. Everyone were very nicely. They were going ahead in the war, and even in unhealthy places, this they did not have this kind of disease because they were already inoculated. Okay, so moving on to next question. At the opening ceremony of Pasteur Institute in Paris, Pasteur talked about two opposing laws. So there was a opening ceremony in Pasteur Institute in Paris. So there were two opposing laws. So what were those? See, which are those two laws? You have to mention in the question A, which were those two opposing laws. So the answer is the two laws are, the one was the law of blood and death, starting each day with new methods of destruction, forcing nations to be ready for the war. The other was the law of peace, work, and health. Its only aim was to save human from all the problems around him. The first is a violent conquest, and the other is the relief to humankind. Okay, so students, when we come across the lesson, when we go through the lesson, we come across this paragraph that there were two laws mentioned during his opening ceremony speech. There are two laws. The laws, one is of law of blood and death, where you have fight, war, destruction. Every day, everyone is ready to fight. And whereas the opposite law was the law of peace, work, and health, where people aim only to help the human, to save the human from all the problems around them. So the first one was a violent one, and the second one was the relief to humankind. Thus, it becomes contrary to opposite laws. Okay. So moving on to second sub question, which one did he favor? Means which one did Pasteur favor? Okay. Answer is Pasteur favored the second law, the law of peace, work, and health, because he was sure that the science follows the law of humanity and will always work for the betterment of humankind. Okay, so Pasteur was in the favor of second law, that is relief to humankind, the law which has peace, work, and health, who serve the humanity, who work for the purpose of human, and he was sure that science follows the law of humanity. It never goes against humanity. Like it never, science never think of hurting any human or killing or destroying humans or humanity. So he says that science is always working for the betterment of humankind. And even he had this thought. Even he worked for the purpose of providing service to human and the people of his society, not to gain name and fame and awards. So this is how he favored the second one. Okay. So moving on to next question. What was his message to young students on the occasion on his 70th birthday celebration? So there was a message given to young students on 70th birthday celebration of Pasteur. So what was that message? Answer. His message to young students on the occasion of his 70th birthday celebration was, first ask yourselves, what have I done for my education? Then, as you advance in life, what have I done for my country? So that someday that supreme happiness may come to you, the consciousness of having contributed in some measure to the progress and welfare of humanity. Okay, so this was the message given to young students, that you have to ask yourself first, that what have I done for my education? Have I got proper education? Have I been educated properly? Then, as you advance, when you go ahead in life, you should think, what have I done for my country? Being a citizen of a country, have I done something for my country? So that someday that happiness will come to you, that consciousness, that feeling of the feeling of happiness will make you happy, that yes, you really have contributed something for the nation, for the development and the progress of and the welfare of humanity. So you have to think. When you think, then only you will be motivated to do such kind of work. Okay, so this was the message that Pastor wanted to give, as he had totally sacrificed his life in researching and providing help to the humanity, to the service, to the society, to the people of the society. Thus, he gave the same message to the young students. Okay, next. What is the supreme happiness he talks about? So, what is that supreme happiness for him? Answer: the supreme happiness he talks about is the result of consciousness of having contributed in some measure to the progress and welfare of humanity. So Pastor says that the supreme happiness, the ultimate, the topmost happiness is the result of consciousness. When you are aware, when you feel that yes, I have contributed something in the progress of the country, for the development and the welfare of humanity, you feel a kind of happiness which you cannot describe. So that is known as supreme happiness. That is what he's talking about, supreme happiness. Okay. So moving on to next question, students. Here are Louis Pasteur's thoughts at various points in the lesson. Read the paragraphs mentioned against each and explain how he came to each conclusion. Okay, so here we are having some points from the lesson. We have to read that. The paragraph is also mentioned, and you have to explain like how did Pasteur come to this explanation, this conclusion, and he has given this statement. Okay, so the first one under that is I am certain that yeast is alive, made up of tiny living cells. So this statement is given in paragraph 7. So how has he proved this? So if we read paragraph 7, we'll get the answer. So answer is here for you. Pasteur learned many things about yeast while he was helping the brewers. He had observed that yeast were alive and were made with tiny living cells. He also observed that when these cells were healthy, the yeast acted well. But if they were weak or diseased, the beer went wrong. Okay, so this to his experiment and his conclusion states gives us the proper reason that why he has given the statement. He had learned many things about yeast while he was helping brewers. Brewers are nothing but no one but the manufacturers or the workers in the beer factories. So when he was helping them, he found out this that the yeast, uh, many things about the yeast. And then there he observed that yeast were alive. Even they were alive and they were made with tiny living cells. And he also observed that if these cells were healthy, if they were very good, the yeast acted well and the beer was good, of good quality. But if these yeast they were weak or diseased, if they went diseased, if they had disease or they went weak, the whole of the beer went wrong. It would have spoiled. It gets spoiled. And this is how it was working there. So this was the particular thing about yeast which he had observed while helping the brewers. Thus he has given this statement. Okay. Moving on to the next sub question. Germs are carried in the air and may infect other things that come in contact with them. So this statement is there, and this information, this reason we can get it from para number 8 and 9. So answer is here for you all. While in Paris, Pasteur was thinking about decay and yeast and germs. He believed that the germs were carried in the air and infected other things that came in contact with them. He also proved with this with the soup bottles experiment that had a big bend in the middle. Their soup did not turn bad because there were no parent germs in the soup. It was only when the little soup was split it down the germs entered it in with dust and infected it. Okay, when he was in Paris, he was thinking about the yeast and the germs and all, and he believed that these germs they are usually carried in the air, and they infect all the other things which come in their contact. And he also proved this with the particular experiment of soup bottles. And in this bottles, he had a bend in the middle, and the soup turned bad because there was no parent germs in the soup. Like there were no parent germs means the germs which give or produce other germs. It was only when the little soup was split it down, were leaked out, and the germs entered in with the dust. When the air went inside, when the bottle was opened, and when it entered, at that time the soup of the bottle got infected. So thus he proves this statement. Okay. Moving to next sub question. Pure air is different from stale air. This is in para 10. We can get the reason for this statement. And the answer is Pastor filled some of the bottles with soup. He took some into a hotel bedroom where the air hardly changed, broke the neck of the bottle, so that the air could enter freely, and after some time sealed the bottleneck again. He also took some bottles into a field nearby and did the same, and then some of the bottles he took to the mountain and did the same thing and sealed it again. Later, when all these bottles were examined, the bottles opened in the hotel bedroom had turned completely moldy. The bottles opened in the field was not so bad, whereas the bottle opened in the mountain had no germs in them at all. Thus, Pasteur proved pure air is different from stale air. Okay, students, so this is what the answer in paragraph 10 we can give. Just now we have seen about the experiment in which he had done with the bottle soup. So this is what the experiment, this is how he had done, and he proved that pure air is different from stale air, means polluted air, spoiled air. Okay, so what did he do? He took three bottles with the soap and he kept it in three different places. First one, he kept it in a hotel room where there was no ventilation, where there was no air. Air could not change of very often, and he broke open the neck of the bottle for some time, and again he closed it so that when he opened the bottle neck, some of the germs entered it, and again he sealed it. Again he took the some of the other bottles to the field which was nearby. Again he did the same thing, opened the bottle and closed it so that the germs could enter, the air could enter inside, and again he closed it. Again he took some bottles to the mountainous area, and there he did the same thing. At last, when he opened all these bottles and examined, he went thoroughly through it, he came to know that the bottles which were opened in the hotel room had completely turned moldy, means it had been spoiled because there were bad germs inside it. It was infected. And the bottles which were opened in the field were turned a little bit bad, but it was not so bad. Whereas the bottles which were opened in the mountain had no germs at all. Okay, so this proves that the pure air is different from stale air. See, if you go to mountainous area, you get pure air. The atmosphere is very pure. But if you are in a hotel room packed from all the sides, no ventilation, no air coming and going out, it becomes stale. It becomes polluted because very often CO2, that is carbon dioxide, is filled inside, right? So this is how he proved with this experiment. Moving on to the next last sub question. Pasteurization makes the germs harmless. This statement's reason we can get in para number 12. So pasteurization is the process where it is the name which is given against Louis Pasteur itself. So let's see what is this pasteurization. He proved that. Answer. Pasteur proved that by heating the wine, milk, or any other liquid to a temperature of 50 to 60 degrees centigrade kills the germs, making it harmless. Okay, this proves that pasteurization will make the germs harmless, and your liquid or your wine or your milk will not spoil after that. Okay, so here he says that after boiling or taking the liquid to 50 to 60 degrees, it will kill the germs and it will become harmless, and then it will not spoil your particular liquid. And this is how your milk which are pasteurized are first brought into this degree, and then it is very carefully packed so that there are no germs entering inside and it is not spoiling. Okay, so with this question answers, we come to an end of this first main of the question answers, students. I hope this video was informative for you all. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, do hit the like button, and we'll be back soon with the rest of the question answers of this chapter. Thank you.